So to get us started, by the end of the session, we're hoping that you'll be able to create a Sakai course site if you haven't before, select a suitable template for your course plans, and revise your Sakai course site. So, you might take our template, but then still make some adjustments and personalize it more so it fits your course. So to start off with, let's talk a bit about how you can use templates to streamline your course. First off, what is a template? It's a selection of tools and/or web pages that we've set up ahead of time for you on the back end. They include some of our most commonly used tools, and they incorporate some of the best practices for student-centered course site design. They have an outline of the basic structure of your course, so that makes it easier for you to organize your site and share important practical information. And most importantly, it's completely customizable, so it's just a suggested format that helps you get started quicker, but then you can make adjustments as you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and switch what I'm sharing so I can show you how to create a course site. So I'm going to Sakai, and if you'd like, please feel free to follow along because you could go through it as I do. If you never have before, that might give you a chance to remember it better for muscle memory's sake. So I'm going to start back. Oh, I'd already started doing this before. Let me back up. I'm going to start back on home. Okay, home overview. There we go. So this is what it looks like when you first log into Sakai. And to create a new course site, you're going to want to go to Work Site Setup in the left-hand menu, kind of more than halfway down. The next screen, this might look slightly different. I'm a Sakai admin, so some of the things you're seeing right at the top here might be slightly different, but both of us will have the same options here at the top. So you're going to want to go to Create New Site. So you need to be an instructor to create a course site. So that means there's a specific course and roster that's associated with you that indicates that you're an instructor. If for some reason you're unable to create a site, you would want to contact, and you believe you should be able to, you would want to contact OIT help. Otherwise, if you're not an instructor, you would only be able to create a project site. So course sites are the ones that have these new templates. So there are other ways to request those. If you needed one for another learning opportunity, you would want to contact us directly about that. Since we have new templates, we've added a bit more information here and a link to the blog post some of you may have seen featuring yours truly, talking about these templates. So, if you forget later on some of the information about it, you could also go back here to look at, oh, what were the different template options. So the first thing you want to do is say course site, select the first radio button, and you want to select your term. Some of you may be doing summer. I'm just going to pick fall. It doesn't really matter for an example. And by default, it will pick the default course template. This is the one that you all may have used in the past if you've already created Sakai sites. And I'll show you what that one looks like in a minute. And there are a number of other choices as well. Some of these are for our professional schools, as well as you'll see DKU, Duke Kunshan University, has its own template. And the new templates that we're going to be talking about today are the advanced course template and the minimal course template. And I'm going to pretend select minimal for now. Then you want to select your course. I'm not going to go through all of these steps, but you would want to select your department, then the specific course and section, and then say continue. And if you need more help creating your site, we're happy to help with that, either contacting us by email, learninginnovation@duke.edu, or we have office hours right now on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 1 to 3. It's listed on our Flex teaching site, and I'll give out that information again at the end. So once I go through a couple more confirmations, I would have a new site. So if I had selected the default template, let me show you what that one looks like. This one is sort of, like I said, the one that you might have used in the past. So it's mainly an assortment of kind of commonly used tools that we think you might need, but certainly it's not comprehensive because I don't even know, I meant to count beforehand how many tools we have. I would guess it's like at least 30. And the only other thing is it uses the overview tool. So it has a text box here, and then it flows in any recent announcements and any calendar items. So those can be nice for kind of a snapshot for students to know what's coming up. I should mention, actually, I was filling this out when I was practicing this and then forgot to delete it. This would actually be empty to start with. So it would be a good place to put some practical information. So for example, you could put the course name, your email address, any other relevant things. If you didn't feel like you had a lot of other text you needed to add, you could put, what days you're meeting online and that sort of thing. So you would do that just by going back to that edit button, which takes you back to this edit box. So otherwise, this is just an assortment of tools. One thing it doesn't have that you'll see in the other templates is any lessons pages. Lessons is the way that I call them basically web pages. They're just, editable pages that you can add text, images, links, media, all sorts of things to. So I will show you some examples of those as we go along. So next, let's take a look at our minimal templates. We had to make it a little snazzier, so we have a nice design course banner by my colleague, Nick James. So that will automatically be part of the site, but also you can switch this image out with a different one if you like, and we can help you do that. So one big difference is we're starting out here with a lesson page. So this about page is a lesson page. So that means basically we can add these different chunks of content. So we added an image and then we added text. So when you first create or add this template, it will look just like this. So we'll already have this information, and we wanted to give some suggested text for you to use, but of course this is completely customizable. It can also be deleted if you don't want some of these options. But essentially it's to give students some pointers on what they need to look at. So for example, look out for email notifications and announcements. That means if they'll come through announcements first to their email, but then they can also check back on them in announcements as well if they miss anything or to review. They can see different files, ideally including the syllabus if you want to include a syllabus and resources. And we also included Zoom so that students can go directly to Zoom meetings from the Sakai site. In addition, we've included a suggestion of having your email address here, but of course that's completely up to you what information you want to include. So in resources, we also, let me back up, I was also showing this before. We have a folder that we created already for you to upload your syllabus. So if you click on syllabus, you would just want to say actions, upload files, and then you could go ahead and put a copy of your syllabus there. So that could be, a pretty straightforward way to have it in resources, and then on the about page, it already, says that you can look for any relevant files, including the syllabus and resources. But again, that's not an option that you have to use. So it will also include Zoom, where you can add course meetings. And then site info was automatically included, but it will be hidden from students because they don't need to use it. So as Heather, my fellow Heather, will talk about soon, you can also add tools and such to this template. So this template is good if you really just want the essentials, if you really kind of want to keep some central information, but you don't, kind of have a lot of information you feel like you need to convey in Sakai. This can also be a good option if you're already using a lot of external tools. So for example, if you have a WordPress site, if you're using Duke Kits, which allows you to combine a number of tools together for a course, or if you're using, say you're making a lot of use of some other tool, like a lot of your files are in Box, or you mainly have a lot of readings that you link to. So basically, it's a good option if you just kind of want some of the basics, but you have a lot of other information elsewhere that you want to just like add a link to here. Let me check the chat. Is anything exciting happening? Okay, good. Looks like Elise has got my back. Thanks, Elise. So this is the minimal template. Now, in contrast, let me show you the advanced template. We also gave it the pretty course banner. It starts me where I was last, so let me go back to the beginning. So this makes use of the overview tool, which is similar to the default template, but here we've included more suggested placeholder text. So we would suggest having course title, basic information about you, and a short course description here. In addition, as I said, it will have those same tools that give updates on some of the things going on in the course. It has additional lessons pages. So one important thing is the getting started page. So this provides kind of more information, more in-depth information for students about the course and how to get started. So similarly to what you saw on that other about page, we have some suggestions for students on places they need to look and stay updated in the course site, and you know, where those are located, what tab that's located in. In addition, we've left a spot for you to upload your syllabus. So that could be done similarly to the way I showed you before, and then we've given you the instructions. There's a link here to how to do the final step of then linking to it on this page. So that the other option is you could also just copy and paste the text of your syllabus and go edit this button, select this edit button, I guess is the correct way to say that. And you could, you know, delete whatever text you don't need here and then just paste it in. So that's another simpler option if you don't want to go through the rigmarole of the resources folder. So in addition, we've provided a structure where you have a drop-down menu that shows each week of the term. We went up to 16 because we figured you might have some additional content either for the last week or to mention finals or to talk about a final project or something of that nature. So that's why we included one more by default, just because we assume there might be some sort of content there and you can actually change what that says. So the weeks page here is actually a top level lessons page. And so these are considered sub pages, which Heather Valley will talk a bit more about later. But essentially it's just a way to nest them so that you don't have like the world's longest menu here. And so for each week, we have some identical content that you could either use or replace. We were trying to make this more of a guided learning experience. So that means that it kind of really provides more information about each week or unit. It includes an introduction, what are some of the important concepts or topics, what are some guiding questions students need to keep in mind. Ideally, it includes learning outcomes, so what students will be able to do by the end of the week or unit. Any assigned readings or resources could be included here. They could also be include links, or it could go to external videos and such. And then we have a section for learning activities. And I would note, I use learning activities to mean several things. So I just want to be clear that it could be both smaller kind of assignments. So it could be something like a discussion in forums, or it could be something that's more of one of your main formal assignments or assessments using the assignments or tests and quizzes tools. And Heather Valley will mention later how you can, with this plus button, actually link directly to these sorts of tools instead of having to say, students, please go to assignments to see paper number 1. So instead, we can directly have a link underneath this that goes straight to your assignment. We try to include most of the same tools that you get in your default because those are the most common ones. So we have some of the basics for communication. So that includes announcements and email, as well as Zoom meetings. It also includes most of your main tools for assessment, so assignments and tests and quizzes, and the gradebook, of course. Resources for sharing files, and again, uploading your syllabus or anything else like that. And then calendar is one addition, so you could, both using assignments and tests and quizzes, you can add things to the calendar, but then you can also add additional entries there with information about what's coming up. One other special edition, which will be hidden here, we've put, it's a long story about why it's in parentheses here, but just because and it's not worth getting into anyway. In your site, it will automatically be hidden from students because we are not assuming that you will use this. However, WarpWire is a tool for uploading and sharing media files. So that could be videos, could be images, audio files. So, you know, you would unhide that or use it to link to those files in a lesson page. So basically, if you're using it, you may want to unhide it, or you definitely want to provide the links somewhere so students can see them. But that's one additional tool we provided that we thought you might want to make use of if you're doing a more comprehensive site like this where you're providing a lot of content. So the advanced template can be really great if you're trying to create more of a holistic guided experience. It provides a lot of opportunities to really make it clear to students what is due and when, kind of give an order to the activities. So one other thing to consider is how in each week you're sort of telling students like what's the order to complete things in. So you could add, for example, this plus button, you could add content in between these if there's, you know, say there's certain readings you want them to do and then do an activity and then do more reading. So you do have options in terms of how you order or kind of use these templates. And also it's very easy for you to just delete these sections. I will be sad when you delete the learning outcomes, but I know some people will do that. So basically it's very easy for you to change this up to make it better suit your needs. So all that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Heather Valley so that she can talk more about how you can take these templates and then customize them more to your liking.
Okay, everyone should be able to see the website that we just left. I'm going to discuss how to adjust a given template, or rather your site that has been created using a given template so it more closely matches your needs. We did our best to set these up to be as useful as possible, but everyone's course is different, and you may have just one or two tools that you really do need or just don't need at all. So I'm going to show you how to adjust it so your course will reflect what you want to do with it. The key tool that you're going to need for this process is going to be site info. There are two spaces where we handle tool work, and that's manage tools and tool order. I'm going to start with adding a tool. And I'm going to add another lesson page. You can see there are already 2 lesson pages created here, as well as the subpages that we'll get into in a few minutes. I click this box, scroll to the bottom, and hit continue. Now this is going to bring up a space where I can rename this lesson page. So practice lessons. And then I hit continue. This is a dangerous spot here for many people who are working with tools, because you look at this list and you say, yep, the tool I wanted is there. Let's go on with our lives. However, if you look to the left, you'll see the tool's not there yet. What happens is there is a finish button that 99% of the time is below the fold, and people don't see that they have to click that to get the tool set in their site. So you click finish, and then there you'll see where it is. Now from here, we can go to tool order and click here and drag it up so it's with the rest of the lesson pages. Then we can click save, and you'll see it has moved up where we want it. Now, once you have a lesson page, there's nothing there to start with, except for a few little icons and some suggestions on how you can add content. Most of what you'll need to do here involves the Add Content button. You click that, and you can see the various things that you can add to it. And there's a lot you can do here. What you'll probably use the most often is the first one, Add Text. And that brings up a box that I'm sure looks very familiar to most of you, where you can either type in content Or if you have content already worked out in a Word document, a Google Doc, you can cut and paste into this here. Sometimes copying over from Word brings in unexpected formatting. Theoretically, there's the Word button there where people used to paste things in. It's not really useful anymore, and with any luck, they'll be going away soon. Oh wait, that's PowerPoint button. They've already removed that. That's so awesome. Okay, never mind. So just put your content in here and be aware that if it's coming from a Word file, you may need to go in and make some adjustments to it to make it look the way you want. Then you click Save, and your page will have some content. Various things you can add to a page include things like linking to a resource folder. If your course has a lot of reading PDFs, you can set those up in a specific folder and then just click Add Resource Folder. In this case, we don't have a lot of folders, so I'm just going to select the image one. Click Save, and then a student will be able to go straight to the resource folder to get to the content that you want them to use at the time they're in this particular lesson page. You can also link to a test or quiz in a similar way. In this case, we just have one quiz, so that is selected. You selected item, and there we go. And this way you can build out a page with all the content you want. Now, one thing that you can see we've used a lot of in here, that is subpages. And I'm going to show you how to add subpages so they have those nice, very obvious buttons and not just some little link with a tiny folder icon next to it. So going back to practice lessons, add content, add subpage. To have things show as a button instead of a link, you click the second thing here. You give it a title. And it takes you straight onto the subpage where you can add content the way we did on the lesson page. One thing to note, under Add Content, you have the option to add a subpage again. This will not fill out a subpage off of the top level page the way you saw under Weeks. This will add a subpage to the subpage. And if you go down that road too far, it becomes a really difficult situation for students to navigate. So we recommend that if you want a series of subpages, you remember to click back on the top level page and go here and add the second subpage there. And you can see when you go back here, that's what happens if you don't click the radio button to, the checkbox to have it appear as a button. That's less obvious. The having it appear as a button is much easier for students to see and navigate. Now, let's say, for example, and I'm moving this a bit because the buttons are disappearing underneath things here. Say that subpage 2 and practice lesson subpage, that isn't very consistent. I can click in here to edit, give it a new name. And then I can say, hey, I want this to show as a button because the other one looks so nice. Click Update Item. Then wait for Sakai to make up his mind. And then there we go. Everything looking the way it ought to. Now let's see. Let's briefly look at adding an external tool. Something that's become fairly popular with people who are using videos is PlayPosit. Now, this isn't the webinar where we're going to go into the details about PlayPosit, but it's a place where you can take a short video and add sections where students can interact. They can answer quizzes, write a reaction, have a moment for a reflective pause, and so forth. So if you want to add something like that, first you go off, learn PlayPosit, and create your content, which they call a bulb. Then you go to Add Content, Add Learning App, click Play Pause It, and it takes a minute because it's sending us to a whole different site. It says, hey, there isn't a link here yet. You set it, you select what you want, you click Sakai because that's where you want the link to go. You can make various selections there, click link. And there you can see the Play Pause It bulb has been added, and students can click there to watch the video and respond to the questions within the bulb. Now, one thing that students have been very clear about in many questions, when we've asked them about their experience on Sakai, is that they'll frequently go to a course site and there will be tools that are never used. And they have to hunt around to find the content within the tools that the instructor actually wants to use. And that's a lot of mental bandwidth that the students could be using to think about the actual course content. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of the tools that you're not planning to use. And we strongly recommend this. Remember, you can always put a tool back. So what you do is you go into tool order. And let's say there's a tool that you're 90% sure you're not going to use, but say it's a lesson page, like practice lessons here. You put a bunch of content on it. You don't necessarily want to recreate it if it turns out you are going to need it. So for that, you can click on the little tool icon here, select Make Tool Invisible to Students. That little eye with a line through it comes up, click Save. And now you can see here, students will not be able to see that. However, if you are absolutely positive you never want to see this again, your students will never use it, it's time in your life you'll never get back, but don't have to put your students through it at least, you can go and click Delete this tool, click OK, and then click Save, and it is as if it never was. So things that you put time into creating, like lesson pages where you build out content, those go away. But if, for example, you decide to get rid of the grade book, I don't know, announcements, something like that, you can always go to Manage Tools and say, oh, wait, I am going to use announcements. Re-click it and bring it back again. So some things are forever, but not everything.